Are we live?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
listen, technical difficulties. Yeah. My internet was going in and out. What's up though with the sports world? WTP Sports Dudes live to you this Saturday morning. I got Rob in the building. We about to go through the post spring of the Big Ten preview. This is the final and last preview we got for post spring college football. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good this morning, man. Glad to be here with you this morning. Ready to talk about the Big Ten 2026 post spring football preview. Good to be here, bro.
Hey, you ain't had to wear the Texas hoodie to the, the Big Ten post spring preview, but it's all right. It's all good. Hey, listen, man. Hey, all the channels is scrolling down at the bottom. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channels, man. We drop a lot of content, and you want to get the notifications for when we dropping. We got shows almost every day of the week, so there's never a dull moment when you come to the channel. Hey, jumping off right off. Hey, the Big Ten, we three Peters out here, So I'm gonna ask you, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana in a row. What percentage do you get a Big Ten to win another national championship and make it four in a row this season?
Man, I'm giving them at least a 50-50, if not a 60-40, because you got a really, really good Ohio State team that I definitely believe will make it to at least the final four, probably even the championship game, because they're probably the most talented team in the country. Then you got an Oregon team that's not far behind them, returning a lot of players from last season. They got their starting quarterback. They got those defensive guys back. And if they're going to get Evan Stewart and Decoria Moore out there, shoot, man, this Oregon team is going to be lights out as well. I give them at least a 50-50, but I'm leaning more towards 60-40 for the Big Ten to win a fourth straight national championship. And the reason why it's 60-40 is because that Notre Dame team is out there and they're really good as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 40%, man. I'm gonna throw 40% out there because I do want to account for Notre Dame. I do want to account for Miami as well out of the ACC, who I think is going to be very good, and I want to account for at least two SEC teams. So I think that 40% is right in the ballpark of where I was sitting at. Um, and it's the cluster of teams of why I give it such a high percentage. It's not one specific team; it's just the cluster of teams, maybe three teams: Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. I think those three teams are definitely going to be at the top of the line again this season. Um, we got a comment in there. Uh, what is it? M Band. MB Anderson 83. I am going to tell you right now, Wisconsin will be a lot better than people think. Bookmark that. Hey, so we got a question later in the show where I definitely have Wisconsin tabbed at. We're gonna get around to that though. But yeah, like I was saying, national championship this season. I think everything flowing through the Midwest again, like post game like to say. Which contender do you think has the biggest unanswered questions after this spring?
It's probably USC. We are ready for USC to turn the corner. We don't know what USC is going to look like defensively. Even though they hired Gary Patterson, who's a really good defensive mind, we don't know if they have the bodies this year. We know they're going to have the experience in a year or two, but this year I think it's USC. We know Lincoln Riley is going to have a really good offense. We just don't know about their defense, and that's been our concern with USC the last several years, especially the 2 years that they've been in the Big Ten. So I'm gonna go with USC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the defending champs, man. Indiana. I think their glue guy, D'Angelo Pons, um, I think he was the biggest key to that defense because you could kind of leave him on the island. I remember the battle he had with Jeremiah Smith, where I thought, you know, the size difference would play a big role, but he held his own pretty well, and I felt like they could deploy more bodies into the box on that defense because of him. So I want to know if they have somebody that can kind of replace him. And kind of hold down an island on one side of the field so they can continue to have bigger loads of boxes when it comes to the running game. So I don't know, like the offensive pieces, we look like they're there on paper, um, but maybe Sig. I think he's a good talent evaluator. I think maybe he can find somebody to not really be D'Angelo Pons, but to kind of have that same type of impact. I think that's the biggest key for of whether or not they can stay on the upper echelon this year of the Big Ten. You gotta have a guy that's gonna hold down one side of that field, like they did last year. Uh, and I don't know, it's a lot of questions around the Big Ten. I could also go with, will Iowa ever find offense? This is a running question every year with Iowa. Iowa, if you get a lick of offense, we know what your defense is going to be year in and year out. That will bolster them to be an upper echelon and a playoff threat every year if they could just find a little bit of offense. And we ask the same question about Iowa every year. Can we find offense? And I don't even think they need to be too explosive. You know, they had one of the better offensive lines last year. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I think their offensive line won the best offensive line award. But it's always going to come down to, can they get some quarterback play and can they get some explosive plays from the wide receivers? We'll see if this is the year or not. Um, and level up. Parlay Poe was up in there. He said my Wolverines Underwood. That's his biggest unanswered question. That we gotta figure out that question as well too. Whether or not, because we hearing about y'all's backup over there, Parlay Poe, about him being a viable threat to maybe take that spot over Underwood. So we'll see how that play out too. But them are my top two: Iowa and Indiana's defense.
Cool, cool.
Is the Big Ten deeper in 2026 than it was last season?
I definitely believe they're going to be deeper this football season. You ran off a couple of names in your last statement. I mean, you're looking at Michigan, who rebound from the season that they had 2 years ago when they had quarterback issues. They got a quarterback now, even though Underwood, as a true freshman, maybe wasn't as great as we thought he could be. We expect him to be better this year in year two. You got Ohio State, Oregon, you got Indiana, you got Iowa. We expect Penn State to be better than what they were last year. That's six teams right there. And then if you start looking at Maryland, if Wisconsin turned the corner, you're talking about eight teams. I think they're going to be deeper this year simply because I think those quarterbacks who played last year for some of those teams that didn't fare so well, they're going to be a little bit better in year two.
Yeah, when I look at this question, I like to attack it from not necessarily the top of the Big Ten, but the bottom. I think Maryland, was a bottom half team, but I like the talent that they got. They had two really good bookend young defensive ends on that team, a freshman quarterback who showed a lot of promise. So when I look at schools like Maryland, UCLA, second year with Nico, I think these teams can be more competitive. Wisconsin, like my man MD Anderson, Wisconsin, they played very hard last year. They had a brutal schedule. They was banged up. They went through three quarterbacks last year. I even see an improvement in the team like that as well. Barring injury, to be more competitive. So I think where you get um where you get deeper is your bottom half teams have to be more competitive, and I think that's what we're going to see out of some of those programs near the bottom. I think Northwestern will take a step back. Their coach left. Where did he go? Where did Fitzpatrick go? I can't even think of it right now. But Fitz left, so I don't know about Northwestern. I think Northwestern probably will take a little step back. But even like your Purdue's of the world, Purdue always slick weight, try to upset somebody every year. Then you got the Minnesotas with PJ Fleck over there. They were who I thought was a very solid team last year, middle of the pack, but they played a lot of teams competitively last year. So that bottom half, I just think they had young players on them. Uh, UCLA in their case, they had a former 5-star quarterback transfer over with Nico his second year. I like what they did in the portal, so I think a lot of them bottom half teams is definitely gonna make it stronger over there. Which offseason transfer could change the conference race?
Man, I was looking at all of the players that Ohio State lost on their defense, but then they come back and they get what's the safety's name that y'all got from Florida? Did y'all get him from Florida State?
Yeah, Earl Little.
Earl Little. I think Earl Little is going to be that guy that's going to really keep Ohio State's defense solid, man, and up there at the top. I don't know if there's anybody else out there that I know off the top of my head, but I know that Earl Little was a big pickup for Ohio State, especially using losing a lot of the players that they lost on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, to me, I think it's always going to be quarterback. When you got big time profile, high profile quarterbacks transferring. So, yeah, after the whole soliloquy that I said about Indiana, I can see two things being true. They got to find somebody definitely to kind of replace D'Angelo Pons. But if Josh Hoover can sling the rock, come over to the Big Ten and sling the rock like he was doing in the Big 12, pairing him with Nick Marsh, that's going to be a scary duo, and a lot of teams is going to have to reckon with them. So I'm gonna go with Josh Hoover on that. I don't, it's a tick up. It's a little different style of defenses in the Big Ten, so we're gonna see if he can handle it. But I think Josh Hoover can make the case of probably the most impactful transfer by time the season ends. Which team outside of the top tier could you see realistically make the playoff?
Man, I had to think about who I'm going to put in that top tier. If I put those four teams that I know are going to always be solid year in and year out in Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Indiana has been there here the last couple of years. I probably had to go with USC because we're waiting to see if USC is going to turn the corner. Um, I would have to go with them. I think that at some point USC is going to have to be able to turn the corner in the Big Ten and be one of those teams up there like Oregon has been coming from the Pac-12 and automatically being up there in the top upper echelon of the Big Ten. So I'm gonna go with USC. I hope they can turn the corner. We know Lincoln Riley offensively can do what he does. Can Gary Patterson finally get that defense together?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a team that is definitely been on the top of the Big Ten for probably past 5 to 7 years. But it's not a lot of noise coming out of this program this year. Nobody really expects them to do much, and that's Penn State. I like Penn State's schedule. I think they hit the home run with the schedule gods, and they got an experienced quarterback. We know in college football what wins, and that's experienced teams. I think Rocco Beck being a senior this year, got a lot of games under his belt, a lot of starts under his belt. So I like Penn State, man. I think they got two, I think maybe three tough games on their schedule where they, on paper, you might be like, okay, you might have the other team as the favorite. And as long as you can win one of those games, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be sitting right there at 10-2 at the end of the year, 9-3, and possibly be fighting for a playoff berth. And another team I like, because I like experience at quarterback, Washington. Damon Williams might be the most electric quarterback in the country. Um, and we know what happened with Damon Williams this offseason. He was about to transfer, and then he committed to another school. Then they forced him to come back because I guess he already signed the NIL package. But Damon Williams returns. We'll see how Jed Fish has that team rolling. He always got weapons on the outside as well. So I don't think this Washington team is going to be no joke again this year. They were a very competitive team last year and a tough out last year, and playing at Washington, that ain't no joke either. So, I think they'll win most of their games. It's about going on the road and winning some of these critical, crucial marquee matchups that they got. I don't think nobody will really beat them though on their home field. So when you could take care of home field and make everything else easier, I feel like you might play 5 to 6 games on the road. You probably got two monster road games. We'll see how Washington fares though, but I like experience at quarterback. So those are the two schools that I'm looking at um, to really make some noise for real this year. And it's a question later on in this where I'm gonna tap in and touch on a couple other things though. But it's gonna get real tricky for the SEC this year. Which y'all got 5 in last year. It's gonna get real tricky. Who is this year's surprise 9 or 10 win team that you see in the Big Ten this year?
Surprise 9 or 10 win team in the Big Ten. Well, I'm gonna say this: there's one team out there that needs to be a 9 or 10 win team this year, and that's the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Will they be? I don't think so, but they need to be because they haven't fared well in the Big Ten at all. So hopefully they can get the 9 or 10 wins. But if I had to pick a team, I'm going to pick Iowa to get the 9 or 10 wins. I like the way their quarterback played at the end of the season last season in the last in that bowl game against Vanderbilt. He played really well and showed a lot of promise. I think that this Iowa team, with the defensive style that they play, to where they're able to stop the run, they're able to get after the quarterback, and they don't give up a lot of explosive plays, is a team that can definitely get up to 9 or 10 wins this year in the Big Ten. I'm gonna go with Iowa.
Yeah, I kind of already answered this question, and with my Penn State segment earlier in the show. Penn State, man, I'm telling you, I'm really high on Penn State, and it got a lot to do with that schedule. A lot to do with that schedule. Um, which coach enters 2026 under the most pressure? I think you just kind of spoke on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's Nebraska's coach. I keep forgetting his name, man. I don't know
Yeah,
why
that's
I keep
Matt
forgetting his
Rule.
coach.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule, yeah, Matt Rule.
Mhm.
It got to be Matt Rule, man. He's been there for, I think this is going on his fourth year. They haven't fared well. They ended up getting what was considered one of the top quarterbacks in the country a few years ago. He didn't really pan out the way they thought he should. He needed a lot of work, and I think he was just caught up in the whole Matt Mahomes hype, and the way he was trying to play like Patrick Mahomes. I think if he can go ahead and get his own identity and home in on his craft at the quarterback position, he could be better for the team that he went to this year. But I think it's Matt Rule. He has to get that team to turn the corner. They play pretty decent defense. It's their offense that's been giving them the most trouble because they don't possess the ball enough to give their defense the kind of rest they need so that they can still be strong in the fourth quarter. And that's where they lose most of their games in the second half. So I'm going to go with that Nebraska coach, Matt Rule.
Yeah, just to touch on something too, a little correction, Rob. Dylan Raiola transferred to Oregon. So he's gonna be sitting behind Dante Moore.
Yeah.
It's bad for Matt Rule. I think if they have a bad season, which I kind of think they probably will, maybe be a 5 or 6 win team, I think he's out of there. And it's a couple other guys that's I think it's under a lot of pressure. Lane, you on the hot seat, man. You got Gary Patterson. This is year 4. That defense should be sure enough. You are offensive coach. We know you always got a quarterback. We know you always got some receivers. Y'all's run game got way better last year. Typically, Lane Kiffin, when he have his best teams, his teams can always run the
We talking
football
about
for
Lincoln
real.
Riley. Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley, yeah, Lincoln. I keep on calling him Lane Kiffin.
Yeah,
Lincoln
me too.
Riley, yeah. But this is the year, man. Gary Patterson he was a great hire. A real proven guy coming from TCU. So yeah, this is the year for me for Lincoln Riley. Um, would that be yeah? That might be all the coaches for real that I could see under pressure this year. I don't know. Ryan Day already know if he lose the Teton, I'm right back on his heels. So I'm right back on his heels. I gave him 1 year grace period, but that record is still not what it's supposed to be. So if you lose that game this year, you right back on the pressure seat for me. So um, with that being said, which coaching hire or coordinator change matters the most in your opinion?
Well, I gotta say, Ohio State's offensive coordinator that they hired, what's his name again? From the NFL, he came from the NFL. Ohio State's offensive coordinator,
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith. Will Arthur Smith be able to continue to allow that Ohio State team with that offense they have to put up the kind of points that they put up? I know he's a. They say that he's a tight end friendly coach, and I think tight end friendly coaches are awesome because they understand the dynamic that a tight end can change for your offense when you got a good one and somebody is used to getting tight end the ball. It opens up a lot of other stuff for your outside receivers and for your running backs. So I'm gonna go with Arthur Smith. I want to see if he can still continue to keep that Ohio State offense clicking on a high level, like we've seen over the last probably 20, 25 years.
Man, there's so many different ways I could go with this question. One end, I want to say Cortez Hankton, our wide receiver coach. Can he continue the wide receiver you going? Right now, I'm very optimistic about that. He's reminding me of Justin Fry because he's not sending out enough offers for me, but we'll see how that play out. Um, and another hand, I could say Matt Campbell at Penn State. How fast can they hit the ground running, and can he keep them as an upper echelon team in the Big Ten? And I was just talking about Gary Patterson over at USC becoming a DC. I think that's probably the single best hire um, in the Big Ten this year as far as coordinators go. Um, yeah, that's pretty much where I lay at with the coaching hires and the coordinator changes. It was a lot of movement. Oregon got a new OC DC, but they promoted within, so I'm a little less worried about them because typically when you promote within, especially with the guys that they promoted, them are guys that been around for a long time. They just wasn't the OC or DCs. I think the OC was like the pass game coordinator or something last year. So I don't. Yeah, I understand losing OCs and DCs are huge. I just don't think in this aspect for Oregon it will really affect them as much because those guys been in the program and they promoted within. So it's been a lot of movement with coaching staffs in the Big Ten this off season. Let's get to some rapid fire, man. Who is your most overrated team? Who is your most underrated team? One player you will build around, not named Jeremiah Smith, and one hot take.
Rapid fire. Most overrated team. If I had to go to the most overrated team, oh man, that's a tough. I don't think there's anybody that's overrated in the big. I'm gonna go with Indiana. Maybe Indiana is the most overrated team because we don't know what they're gonna do after losing all of those players that they had from that national championship team. So I'm gonna go with Indiana because I still think most people had them ranked inside the top seven. So I'm gonna go with Indiana's most overrated. Most underrated team. I'm gonna go with Iowa. I think Iowa's going to be the most underrated team. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. One player you build around, not named Jeremiah Smith. I still believe it's Underwood. I think Underwood is a guy who, if he gets the right coach, the right system, he can really be hell on wheels for some teams because of his athleticism and his ability to throw the deep ball. I think Underwood would be the player that I would want to build around. And one hot take, my one hot take is Ohio State will not win the Big Ten championship again this year.
I don't know if that's really a hot take. We ain't won it since 2019.
Yeah, but y'all expected to win it every year, I believe.
That's a fact. That's a fact, man. My most overrated team, man. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Indiana at this moment. Not saying that they can't put it together, but a lot of applications got them as a top 17 because they are the defending national champs. But I got to see how it come together. Most underrated team. I'm gonna go Penn State and I'm gonna go Washington. I think both of these teams will be right there at the end of the year fighting for for that at large spot in the playoff. One player I will build around, not named Jeremiah Smith. I'm gonna go with man. So many guys. It's so many guys. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna just go with Dante Moore, man. I like Dante Moore. I like everything he brings to the table. Um, I think entering this year, I think he's probably if it wasn't a Manning name on the back of the jersey, he'd probably be the number one quarterback on the board at the moment. And the hot take that I got is that there will be five Big Ten teams to make the playoffs this season. Is the Oregon Ducks already the most talented team in the Big Ten?
Man, them and Ohio, them and Ohio State, they're neck and neck, man. I'm gonna before Ohio State did what they did in the portal, and Oregon's players announcing that they were going to come back, much like Ohio State players defensively did several years ago. I was leaning towards Oregon. I still think them and Ohio State are one and two with the most talent. So I would say yeah, Oregon has the most talent already, the most talent this year in the Big Ten. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with yes, Oregon. The Oregon Ducks are the team with the most talent in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give them a slight edge over the Buckeyes, and the reason is because of the experience. They have a lot of returning experience over there, and Phil Knight money is like oil money. Listen, Phil Knight, we know he the head of Nike. Sometimes you'll catch him on our sidelines just because he's the head of Nike. You catch him on our sidelines, and it was a big ruckus. Like, oh, he's on a Ohio State sideline. He donates money to our. He don't give us nothing. He don't give us jack. All that money is definitely funneled to Oregon. So we know they got the money. They have the resources, they got the roster, man. That roster is loaded. There's four teams in the country that just have better rosters than it's not even close. It's Ohio State, it's Texas, it's Oregon, and it's Notre Dame. Them four rosters are just like exponentially, I think, was just way better than anybody that you look at that's next in the next tier. Like it's just they're in a tier of their own, I think. So really you gotta split hairs um when you're talking about which one of these teams is really the most talented. You just gotta split hairs, and I think it comes down to experience.
Yeah, when you start talking about that Phil Knight money, man, I'm telling you right now that Kelvin Banks was going to Oregon. If his mom didn't get sick, Kelvin Banks was going to Oregon. Left tackle out of Texas that went to the New Orleans Saints. He was going to Oregon. And then you look at the top two wide receivers the last few years out of Texas and Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart went to Texas A&M. Texas was his second choice. But when he went back into the portal, he chose Oregon over Texas. And we thought for sure Evan Stewart was coming to Texas. Didn't happen. Then Decoria Moore, he decides he's going to go, I believe it was Alabama. He decides, no, I'm going to back away from that commitment. And we thought for sure Decoria Moore was coming to the Texas Longhorns. We thought we had it signed, sealed, and delivered. Nope, he ended up at Oregon. So I'm telling you right now, that Phil Knight money is some serious bread.
Yeah, I think he write out blank checks sometimes.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Name your number.
Yeah, name your number, man. What's it gonna take to get you here? Oh, snaps. Hey, so which quarterback out of the Big Ten do you think NFL scouts would take first today?
Oh, it got to be Dante Moore. It got to be Dante Moore. I think that there's a lot of really solid quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Um, they're probably just not as experienced as Dante Moore is. I really believe that when it comes down to next year's draft, if Arch Manning decides to come out and you got Dante Moore there, teams are really going to have to wrangle about which one of those guys they want to take if they want to choose a quarterback as their pick. I think both of those dudes are neck and neck. So I'm gonna go with Dante Moore.
I don't think Julian Saying's name pop up a lot. I think today I would take Dante Moore, but if Julian Saying can turn that corner and show a little mobility, a little better pocket presence, I think this answer could easily change to Julian Saying. Right now, though, I would take Dante Moore. And like I said, the most impactful transfer could be Josh Hoover. We seen with Mendoza transferring from Cal and playing under Sig did for him. He went and won a Heisman and became the number one quarterback drafted. I could see the same type of effect happen for Josh Hoover over there at Indiana. So you got a nice quarterback group. This would be Nico's third or fourth year. What is it, third year in college football as well. I wonder why Nico. We haven't been hearing a lot about Nico's name. Maybe all the off the field stuff that happened when with the request of more money when he was at Tennessee right before the playoff game. Maybe this type of stuff is taking an effect on his um his draft projections. But Nico played well last year, man, and he was one of the few bright spots for UCLA. I felt like, so you got a gang of talent in a Big Ten at quarterback this year, and I think it's gonna come down to performance because we seen what it looked like at the beginning of last year when we had Nussmeyer, Klubnik. Some of these guys played themselves out of first or second or third round draft positions. And just like last year, all these dudes got to come back this year and show improvement. And if they don't, they're gonna fall down the board too. So we got a lot of hype going about this quarterback class, not just in the Big Ten, but around the country. But these dudes got to show up and play. So we'll see how it go. But right now, we'll take Dante Moore.
Yeah.
Let's tap into this comment we got right here. When is the Big Ten going to become the Big 18? Not a good look for college education. We can't count anymore.
Man,
Oh man,
let me say something to that comment, man. Listen. The Pac 10 was the Pac 10, and then they went to 12, and they changed it to the Pac 12. Where they at now? The Big Ten is a brand, bro. That name is a brand. You can't change that. And I understand what you said about the educational part because both of us work in the school system. Listen, I understand it, but the Big Ten is a brand. Don't change that thing to no Big 18. It just doesn't sound right. When you hear Big
facts.
Ten, you know what you're talking about, and you know what kind of football you're going to get. Don't change that thing. Of course, we know it's 18 teams in there, but let that just be it. Because if you change that name to Big 18, you might dissolve like the Pac 10 did when they changed their name to the Pac 12.
Hey, the fifth horseman trolling, man. That's all that he trolling. Um, Rob, who you think is the who you think gonna be the most who or right now do you consider the most overrated quarterback entering into the 2026 season?
Man, I don't really think that any of them is overrated. But what I will say this, and this is the name I'm going to give: the way Julian Sane played the last two games when he was up under pressure, he didn't use his legs, man. Really had me mind boggled because I'm like, dude, you could if you just use your legs, you getting first downs and you keeping the chains moving. And for some reason he wouldn't he didn't do it. It seemed like under pressure he was kind of gun shy. I hope he fixed that going into this season. Um, I'm gonna say Julian Sane, but I don't think Julian Sane is overrated at all. That cat man almost completed 80% of his freaking passes, and I don't care who you throwing to. 80% completion rate is unbelievable, bro. And I don't care if you are throwing to Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and those guys, man, because most of his incompletions were a lot of times were drops were drops. So I'm gonna say Julian Sane, but I don't think he's overrated.
I can get why you say that though. Because I got my discrepancies about Julian saying it in my own. Like, he might take the safer throw before he sling it down the field, and that
Mhm.
kind of bugs me out sometimes because I'm like, man, you got one of the generational talents out there, man. Just throw that thing. You know what I mean? So it's certain things about if somebody said Julian Sand is a bit overrated, that I could see. And we seen him without Jeremiah Smith last year, and it just quite wasn't the same. So I can also understand that too. Um, but man, this is a tough question. I want to say somebody like Rocco Beck, because a lot of the people across the country that do think Penn State will be real competitive this year is because of Rocco Beck, um, but it's not because of his talent. It's because of his dog. It's because of his will. Um, so I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard. I think everybody is pretty much properly rated, but if you had to say anybody, I would probably go Rocco. I want to see what he can do in the Big Ten anyway. Will the
Yeah,
Big
me.
Ten? Oh, go ahead.
No, I say yeah, me too. I want to see what he does in the Big Ten as well.
Will the Big Ten be able to produce back to back Heisman winners? If yes, who do you think will win?
Man, back to back Heisman winners. It's gonna have to be a quarterback. I don't think we'll see a wide receiver winning like we've seen Dante Smith win it. Devontae Smith win it a couple years ago. It's going to have to be a quarterback. It will probably be Dante Moore. I think he has an opportunity to be right there. I'm quite sure his Heisman stock is pretty high. Um, so I'm gonna go with Dante Moore. I think he it has the best chance out of the quarterbacks in that conference to win it this upcoming year. Will they produce back to back? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to produce back to backs. But if they do, it's going to be Dante Moore.
Yeah, I think with all the talent in the Big Ten, um, I really don't think they like giving Heisman awards to the Big Ten. I think Indiana was such an outlier because they have been horrible in football for so long, and for them to go undefeated, I thought they had to kind of give it to Mendoza. Just because we've seen something that we have never seen. We've never seen an undefeated Indiana team. Um, and I think that played well. I think that played on his side. If somebody does win it from the Big Ten, though, I think it'll either be Dante Moore or Jeremiah Smith. We have to really be slinging the rock though, and Arthur Smith is known for running the ball, so we'll see how that goes. But I think Jeremiah Smith' best case is that they know he is such a generational talent that they wouldn't want to skip him from winning the Heisman. So as long as he can get 1,500 and 12 touchdowns, I think he'd be in the thick of things. Uh, right there at the end of the season in New York at the Heisman ceremony.
Do you think the Buckeyes will have him on um, a like a 10 touch target or maybe 12 touch target every game?
I really couldn't even answer the question because I don't even know what the offense is going to be. I like this is with Arthur Smith coming in. Um, we're moving to like a Georgia style offense where
Hmm.
you know maybe 2000 what was it 2022 when Georgia won it, they ran 60% of their plays and 12 or
Hmm.
13 personnel with multiple tight ends on the field. So I mean it's trying to get to play action base. So I don't really know like exactly what the offense is going to look like and how they're going to distribute these targets. Or I don't even know how Cortez Hankton is going to rotate receivers because at LSU he liked it to rotate receivers. But how much do you want to rotate receivers when you got Jeremiah Smith? I don't know if you really want to rotate him off the field. So I don't know. I gotta get the game one, week one is gonna tell me everything I need to know. I feel like I don't think we're gonna show a lot, but when you run spring game, you could see a base of whatever, but you're running very vanilla stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're not running what you're gonna actually run when season starts. So I don't know. I have no clue yet.
Yeah, I'm just interested in wondering what Ohio State is going to do with Jeremiah Smith. We already know that the NFL, he's going to go high in the draft in the NFL. He doesn't really have to do anything out there to prove anything. Are you going to get him the touches to put him in the Heisman picture, or are you going to, like you're saying, if they're going to go with more tight ends, maybe limit his number of touches just to preserve his body so that he could be healthy going into the NFL, but not allow that to keep you from winning games. If you have to go to the man, you got to go to him to win games. But if you don't have to, will you preserve his body so that he can be prepared for the NFL and not have to suffer any injuries or anything like that. So I'm anxious to see how they're going to handle him. Are they going to have him chase this Heisman because he's so freaking talented? Because we already know he's the best player in college football. Or are they going to just, be like, hey, man, let's preserve his body. He's already a high NFL draft pick. Let's not do anything to get him injured.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too with Ryan Day under the Ryan Day era. He don't help chase awards. That's one thing he won't
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, but this is the good thing about this year as well, though. The schedule is so difficult that we ain't got no choice but to deploy our best from week one. We did the little pitch count thing last year by being the slowest team in college football. Hopefully they get out of that and give our offense more opportunities this year because that was a little thing that kind of held both of the guys back, Julian Saint
Mm.
and Jeremiah Smith, a bit last year. The pace of play, we played so slow. Julian Saint could have threw for 4,400 yards last year if we would have just picked it up like half of what we was doing. We ain't even had to be at. We was 128th in pace of play or 29th or something. It's only like 130 or 130 something. Like We got to get that number to like 60 at least. That's how I look at it. Like, let's be in the middle of the pack. Let's not be at the bottom.
Yeah, facts.
Man, listen, that's all the questions. You got any other questions you want to throw out there? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got a few questions that I would like for you to entertain when it comes to the Big Ten conference. You mentioned Lincoln Riley earlier. Do you think that it's a strong chance that if he doesn't fare well, that they will really move on from him?
It's tough to say. You know, he just got an extension not too long ago,
Yeah.
so but we've seen these programs across the country. That extension really don't matter. They'll pay you the extension money if they want to fire you. I think really, um, for us as casual fans, when we look into it, we'd be like, okay, his seat might be under a little fire. It's a little pressure over there, but I really think he got a 2 or 3 year grace period with USC, because it's not like he's not recruiting well. He got talent. They're competitive. The they're ultra competitive. I mean, what they went 9-3 last year, so it's not like they're far off. Um, but that's a storied program. 9-3 just ain't good enough. And when is the last time we really seen USC be USC? Early 2000s. You know, um, Lincoln. I don't know. He listen, he's a good coach, a good offensive coach, but he's starting to give me the vibes that he's a better OC than he is a head coach. And maybe they might need to look into that. I don't know. We got to see how this year goes, though, because they got a nice little schedule. Their schedule is not easy. It's not no cakewalk. So if he lose 4 or 5 games this year, man, and they got one of the best recruiting classes in recent memory too. A kid Luke Waffle, Ohio State was at the real bad day one star. He remind me of a Bosa brother. He gonna be a day one star at defensive end. Um, but I'm saying like they got dudes. If you just look at their past few recruiting classes, they got dudes on their defense that was high four, low five, high 5 star recruits everywhere at every position. You got to get it together, bro. There's no reason why your defense should be as bad as this. He always got bad defenses though. Like this is not nothing new. So I don't know, man. If it was me as a casual fan, I'm just looking up from outside in. He got to show me something this year, or I might have to scan across the country. But who out there would you replace him with is the problem. There's not a lot of candidates out here that you will feel comfortable taking over a massive program like that. I mean, you could hire some unsexy names like we done seen Brian Hartline move on to USF, but USF is nowhere near the caliber program. But I'm saying you could find the unsexy name, like Summerall with Florida. I love that hire, but do you really want to go that route if you a program of USC's caliber? So it's all about what the market is calling. Who could you even hire? But one guy I would call though, I would call Mike Tomlin. If you was looking for somebody, why not call Mike? You know,
Yeah, at least make him tell you no. What do you think about the fact that y'all added Matt Campbell and Kyle Whittingham to the head coaching ranks of the Big Ten? Do you think that really solidifies the Big Ten as having the best coaches conference wise in college football?
yeah. So I already originally thought we had the best coaches, um, but them are two of the better coaches that was not in the SEC or Big Ten across the country. Whittingham, I mean, Utah was good over there every year, and then Campbell, he recruiting a whole bunch of 3 stars, and he had Arizona in the playoffs and took your Texas boys to the brink, for advancement. So yeah, man, that was two great hires by both of those programs. and I definitely think it strengthened the coaching caliber of the conference. Like them are two really good, and I'm hoping that these resources only elevate them. You know, the resources that they're going to gain from moving into the Big Ten into these programs. I hope the resources only elevate how well they perform.
Yeah, my last question for you, and I gotta give you a question about that team up north. What should the game plan be for Underwood in this upcoming season if he gets to be quarterback one?
Hey, listen, I think this is the perfect hire for him. I think you put him in a shotgun. You give him a lot of RPOs. You give him a lot of bubble screens, and you do a lot of QB run. That's his game. You know, until he can get the other stuff worked on, that's his game, bro. And what better place to do it at than at Michigan? You can run the ball 40, 45 times, man. And we already know this is Michigan football. Y'all gonna run the ball and play good defense. Put him in the gun, bro. Let him do a whole bunch of power runs, and hand the ball off to the running back and bubble screens, bro. When it comes time to take a shot, he got a cannon of an arm. The RPO gonna set it up for taking shots, but do they got a guy they could take shots to? They do they got it? I don't know. I don't know if they got a guy that they could take shots to, or if they identify one.
All right, cool. That's all the questions I have for you as it related to the Big Ten.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you popping in. You know what I mean? Poe text, he said he didn't know we was doing a Big Ten preview today. I don't know. I thought I said that in the group chat yesterday. I wish Poe was here and T1.
Yeah, maybe
But
we have
hey,
to
all the
revisit
channels are
it.
scrolling down at the bottom. You said what?
I said maybe we might have to revisit it later on in the year when we go into our fall ball.
Oh, I'm about to say, nah, don't even worry about it. You know, all these is rolling back through in August. We're gonna roll these right back in August, right before the season, right before week 0. And then we
Got
really gonna talk some talk. You feel me? We should have way more information then.
yeah.
Hey, all the channels are scrolling down at the bottom. To my right, that's Robert at WTP for Life. I'm One Take Zaya. You can find my podcast on YouTube as well. We got Level Up Sports 10. That's JoJo Mossberg. He also has conversations with Mossberg. If you need to get in touch with him, you can find his handle at the bottom as well. We got Post Game with the Post Game 86 podcast. We got City League TV, and that's T1. You can find him on Facebook. Also, please do not forget, get on the website. It's WTPSportsDudes.com, man. Send us y'all's comments, y'all's questions. If y'all want anything on the show, y'all can put it on WTPSportsDudes.com, and we'll make sure we get around to putting your questions on the channel. As well, y'all can find us on Patreon. That is what is it? WTP Sports Dudes 2026. If you search that, if you can't watch on YouTube, you can listen to it on Patreon. Anthony Manzano, what's up with you? Um, and that's it. Did I plug everything? I think I plugged everything.
Yep, you plugged everything.
All right, y'all. Y'all know what T1 say. We was in the building.
Now we out.
Now we out. Peace.
Peace.